thinking idea.
Whether you're a small, medium, or large business, you must adhere to the modern marketing methods. I Think an Idea provides insights into marketing techniques that work for today's businesses as well as consumers alike. Learn about the best methods of business development for today's marketplace. Internet marketing, utilizing social media, and business marketing. Put on your thinking cap as you enter the Think Tank.
I have Victor Martinson here, and I met Victor at RealSearch about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And they had an ad in the paper. I think they were looking for salespeople.
Yes, we were hiring.
Yeah, and then I had called them up, and we had a really good conversation over the phone. I think it was Jonathan. He said, "We're doing something new at our company and different." And I said, "Oh, I should come and meet with you." And then he told me that they did bid management software for pay-per-click. You guys were working with Acquisio, and they're like, it's a really technical sale. You know, it's not simple. So it's a technical sale. And I came and observed for, I think it was about 48 hours or 72 hours. You had me just sit and watch. And then I came back to you guys with like a long list of all the things that I saw.
Yes.
Or things that I didn't see.
We weren't planning on, we hadn't even thought about hiring a sales manager.
Yeah.
We were just looking for salespeople for the floor, and you put together a whole plan, and that's when we hired you as the sales manager.
Yeah, and it was fun working there. I mean, we learned a lot about, I learned a lot about pay-per-click and the internet, and it was, I mean, your company grew. I remember a meeting that we did one time, and I'm like, can you guys handle more customers?
Right, yeah.
Because they're like, hey, they're just coming in so fast.
They were coming in fast. I had to build out the tech side even more because of all the...
Yeah, and some of your techs got a little overwhelmed.
Yes.
Because they're like, wait, I got 6 new accounts?
Yeah.
But I only had 1 account last month.
Yeah, it was a fast-growing process there for a while.
Right, and then you guys had a web designer. I remember, I think Todd. Was it Todd?
Todd helped with some of the web stuff.
Yeah, he was kind of a high-end web designer.
Yeah.
I think he wanted to do landing pages for like $1,000 or something like that. But I mean, if you do a good landing page, I mean, it's worth the money.
Yeah, but our clients didn't want to pay that, and it was a hard sell.
Yeah. So, so I worked with RealSearch for probably about a year. I ended up getting an offer through a referral at another company, but we've kept in contact. I mean, you were always great to work with.
Yeah. And
you guys were open to ideas, which is always great.
Yeah, and then when I started with this current company that I'm working with in the Bitcoin processing, we've had several conversations about potentially bringing you on to build out more of a Salesforce.
Yeah.
For us as we get to that point. We'll talk about that more, but
yeah,
there's potential there for working together again.
Yeah, I had somebody else in my industry. They had called me in, and we met, and we had a good conversation, and they're right by the Beverly Center, and so they said, hey, I want you to come in for 3-4 weeks. I'll pay you this much per week. Within the first day, I found one thing that saved them $10,000 a month. So after I worked with the guy for 3-4 weeks, I said, your company needs some work, and they had just hired a new CFO, and I said, I don't think the timing's right. But after I left, he goes, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but he goes, somebody would hire you for like $25,000, $50,000 for 8 weeks of consulting.
Yes.
He goes, the stuff that you brought into my company was so high value, and he calls me every 2 months.
Right.
He calls me. He's like, "Are you going to help me build my company?" I'm like, "I have my own company. I'll help him."
Yeah.
But it's got to be like a win-win. But it's always funny, because there's companies out there.
Yeah, and a lot of companies can really benefit from several weeks of high intense expertise in building out a sales force.
Yeah. And then after RealSearch, I started up another company where I came in and there was nobody in any desks, no phones. It was funny because I came over there and they're like, oh yeah, we have a sales team, and I got there and there was no phones. And I was like, well, where's the phones? And they're like, oh, we got phones. So I ended up hiring everyone from scratch. And within 12 months, we went from nobody to like 50 appointment setters and 13 closers, doing 100,000 calls a month.
Yeah,
and I developed out the whole call center, and it was like the Navy SEAL boot camp of
I
call
remember
centers.
talking to you back then, and
Yeah.
and yeah, you really got that company to take off.
Yeah, I wish I had a piece of it.
Right. Well, unfortunately,
They actually were voted like the top 20 places to work in LA.
yeah,
They got ranked in one of the fastest growing companies in Inc. 500. They were actually acquired by a huge corporation for millions of dollars. But within, I think it was 17 or 18 months, we acquired 3,000 accounts. We got it down that we knew that every minute we were dialing, we were getting $2.
yeah, yeah. And a lot of business owners and startups, they don't have the initial resources or tools or time to dedicate to learning a lot of stuff that's, as far as online marketing.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, I haven't had I remember I got a call from, I'm sure you've heard of Hillstone Restaurants, like they have 69 or 70 restaurants. Yeah. And they do like $750 million a year. And they called me up and they said, we're trying to figure out how does this whole internet thing work? And I was like, you don't know how it works? And then I went and met with their team, like in Beverly Hills. And all the people in their internal department had no idea how SEO worked. They didn't have their social media on any of their local pages. They weren't optimizing any of their menus or maps. They were actually logging into 110 separate social media accounts with no software. And I was like, oh my gosh, how could you do that? So I introduced them to like HootSuite and some of these softwares that are out there that make it easier.
A lot of companies think it happens magically in the background.
Yeah.
That if they have a website, it'll automatically be online in a good place, and they'll get business from that. And sometimes they get a little bit and enough to pacify them, but it requires either a lot of time and effort to build out an internal department to handle that, or outsource.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely learned a lot working at Real Search. I mean, I've never gone through so many pay-per-click accounts and then studying, all the information. I remember sales reps that wanted to be Google certified, and I was like, listen, it's not going to help you much. Like a lot of it is really knowing what to look for.
Yeah, it's a lot of hands-on experience.
Yeah.
And a lot of companies don't have that, and that's what we found when, we would, contact new companies, and it was the same story all the time.
Yeah, there's a lot of people even in 2019. I mean, you would think everyone's up to speed. They got the latest smartphone, but you ask them about analytics or conversion tracking, and they're still like living in the dark ages.
Yeah. It's an educational curve, and also time. It takes a lot of dedication hourly every day to ensure that you're getting the results that you need.
Yep. How did you get into search marketing and internet marketing? What gave you that?
Oh, I was actually working in a merchandising business and saw a need there. Some companies were struggling with their online marketing. So we were selling them t-shirts and hats, but they didn't have a good online presence. And so the company I'd been with started dabbing in that a little bit. And then I saw a greater need. So became certified as a Google search professional and branched out from there. And then when you came through, you offered some good points on and a good vision on where the company could be, based on your initial initial take on the office that we are in. And that's when we said, yeah, let's do it. I think the first thing you did was get some ads out to hire some salespeople and develop a training process and build up a whole sales room. Along with that, our phone system was pretty medieval, especially the way we transferred calls from the sales people to the tech people to you to actually and other closers that you had groomed, and that's when we invested in a better phone system and strategy to actually utilize the leads that were coming in. And then, of course, that evolved into call centers. I think you hired a couple call centers, maybe with 20, 30 people that were making cold calls, and then transferring those in to our sales team, and then closing the deals. And I think we grew actually $1 million in revenue that first year. So yeah, it was a big change that you brought to the table.
Yeah. What would you say some of the things you learned as you grew a business? I know there's obviously you brought in all those processes, but what would be advice to a new business owner that has a startup that maybe they're doubtful whether they can work with a consultant or a digital marketing agency or.
Well, if they're a startup and they're going to be online and they're going to need a heavy focus on sales, then they have to get that in place in the beginning, because it's so hard to play catch up, especially in the ever-changing, online hemisphere. If you're behind in market share, it's really hard to catch up, and that's a big issue for a lot of startups. So having a strategy in place for sales and having a strategy in place for online marketing is as important as even getting offices.
Right. Tell us a little bit about RealSearch. What kind of clients did you work with? Was there any oh wow, I can't believe we got these people as customers? What are some of the maybe accomplishments that you guys did during RealSearch that you were wow, this is really cool?
Well, when we started out, we thought we'd get small to medium-sized businesses. We never thought we were ready to take on larger businesses and corporations. But as things evolved, we found that those businesses that were, multi-million-dollar companies were just in need and of critical search marketing support. Some of them had internal people that handled that, and then some of them didn't have any companies. That was the big surprise.
Right. I know, it's so crazy. You work with these big $600-700 million companies.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of them just never outsourced.
I know when I came in there, one of the things was training the salespeople more of a technical sale. We did a lot of join me's where we actually took people through the back end of their AdWords account, which was really revealing, because what people said versus what was in their account was totally different.
Yeah.
You get a better transparency.
Yeah, when we initiated that live interaction with prospects, that was a game changer, because we could show them exactly where they were losing all their money in a simple, 2-3 minutes.
Right. What I remember always hearing this, a customer, you get on the phone with them and they would say, their pay-per-click and their internet marketing is fine. And
All
then
the time.
You get into their account. What does fine mean to you?
Right, exactly. So we get in there and we show them probably, some of them we could show thousands of dollars just going to waste, blatant waste every month.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. This company that we just got as a client, I told you one day they spent by mistake like $35,000 on their pay-per-click. They said there wasn't much difference, and when they started working with us, I talked to them about setup, like setting up your account. They said, "Oh, it's already set up. You just have to manage it." And then we went into their account, and it was like a mess. They had money going in 20 different directions with no focus campaigns. We had to build out the whole account.
Yeah.
So what's the importance of getting a pay-per-click account set up with a certain structure? Because I used to always tell people that a lot of times when people first get onto pay-per-click, it's like Vegas. They pull the lever
Yes.
and they start getting calls.
Yes.
But then the account runs rampant,
Yes.
and then their money just starts going to waste.
Well, yeah, that was a big problem, trying to explain to companies that they didn't need to spend exorbitant amount of monies to get better results or the same results. And a lot of them were very skeptical about that. They were willing to spend $10,000, $20,000 a month because they were getting business. But they didn't realize, and we showed them very quickly, that they could spend $5,000 a month and get the same, if not more, business by outsourcing their search marketing to a professional.
Cool. What would you say, like, if you could name like maybe 5 industries where you were shocked, like what's the largest pay-per-click account that you worked on over the years? Maybe five different verticals where maybe people are like, wow, they spend that much money.
We work with Pendleton Clothing, and they would spend $100,000 a month. So they were doing about $1 million a year in pay-per-click. And other companies that sold high-ticket items, they would spend $50,000 to $60,000 a year. And they needed help. Yeah, they needed help.
Yeah. Yeah, I know one time I was, well, 2 times. One time I was actually looking at a jewelry company in Orange County, a big one. And I think on their pay-per-click, they were spending about $148,000 a month.
Yes.
And then I looked at Hornblower Cruise Lines, which was spending like $78,000 a month. And like the average small business guy could look at that and go, what?
Right.
So, and it's funny, I see a trend between, like, sometimes I get a contractor or someone that does remodeling that's kind of like a one-man show. Maybe he's got a couple-man crew. And I'll look at, like, one of my clients spends $15,000 a month in pay-per-click, but he's doing 30, 40 million a year in revenue.
Yeah.
As a contractor. So I think in internet marketing, you start to see like this evidence that if you spend X, you kind of get Y. And I think it's true with SEO. It's true with pay-per-click. I mean, we had a company that was spending about $9,000-$10,000 a month on SEO, and they were doing about $5-10 million a year, and we outranked them, next to Home Depot. But the guy wouldn't have gotten to 10 or 20 million if he didn't like play the game.
Yeah, you have to be online. You have to be advertising yourself, and you have to spend. You do have to spend, but you have to spend wisely, and we had mom and pops, brick and mortar, all the way up to large corporations, and they're all the same when it comes down to search marketing and SEO.
Because you were in that space for what, like how many years?
10 years.
Like 10 years. we know people can run ads. How important is like a landing page or a website?
I would say the landing page is the most important. And that's another thing you brought to the table when that was a game changer for a lot of our clients, was landing page development. That's where the sale happens after they click through to your site. It's like the first thing they see when they walk in your store. That is the call to action that's going to take them from point A to the sale.
Yeah, I mean, you see so many people running ads on a really bad website.
All the time, yeah. And if you go to a website and you're instantly lost and don't know where to go, what to do, especially to get what you're looking for, then it's a waste of money for the advertiser.
Yeah, I think one of the things I learned from selling over the phone, even like before your company, like I was at another company that we were doing webinars, and the ticket item was like $3 or $4 grand, and I did like 1,000 webinars in a year, and I think the most frustrating thing was getting a sale and then having someone go online and Google you, and then you lose that sale. So that, I know when I was working at Real Search with you, we put a lot of that online content because we would talk to people on the phone and they'd be like, can't find anything on your company except your website.
Right.
So we started putting up all these informational videos. I think we did some white sketch videos. We did a PPC calculator.
Yeah,
where
there was a lot of stuff after you got on the ball with that. So those were game changers. Those drove in a lot of business.
Yeah. What are you doing right now? Like what kind of company are you working with, and maybe tell people about what kind of business you're working in right now.
Well, right now I am working with a company that does processing for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So if a merchant wants to accept cryptocurrency as an alternative or additional form of payment alongside with credit cards and cash, we handle that transaction through an online gateway. Their customers can pay with Bitcoin, and we actually convert that into US dollars and deposit that into the merchant's account. So the merchant doesn't even have to deal with cryptocurrency and the fluctuations in value and the exchange rates, and we handle all that. So it's a whole new space, and it's really exciting because it's the future of online payments.
Is your company doing a lot of transactions right now with crypto, and do you feel like that it helps bridge the gap with like international business?
Yes, we do thousands of transactions daily, and that's globally. So we have merchants that we service in Singapore, South Africa, South America, North America, Europe, and there's no borders anymore. It's a borderless payment system. No exchange rates with different values of fiat currencies. So our merchants don't have to worry about US dollars to euros or to British pounds. We handle all that.
What are some of the goals you're trying to do right now with your company when it comes to growing out your customer base or certain partnerships you're trying to form?
Well, the biggest thing is educating merchants of the increasing value in having this as an additional payment method for their potential customer base, and also that it's not as scary as it looks, and getting over the hump of Bitcoin is only for money laundering and criminal activity. So, yeah, and that's a big hurdle. But we're hoping that that changes.
Yeah, back in the day, like when I had an event planning company, I was a member of BXI, which was like a barter network.
Yeah.
And what was really cool about it was it opened up doing business with other people that were in that same network. Business that you wouldn't have got
Right.
otherwise.
Yeah.
I mean, you have time if you can add another 10 or 20 more accounts. Like I signed up with your company purely for the fact that I have a lot of friends that are in crypto that fly to Switzerland and
Right.
you know they're going from country to country and
Yeah.
talking to banks because they're getting like international investors for different organizations. I had a friend last year, I think he made like $5 million in crypto. Of course, it went down, so he
Right.
lost some of it. But
Yeah.
he was taking that money and investing in all these different companies, you know, with crypto, and then he kind of became like one of those crypto influencers. So now he's like talking with international businessmen, and he's like a kind of a jet setter. He'll be in Switzerland, and then he'll be in Dubai. I'm like, what are you doing? Like,
Right.
I can't even figure it out. You know. It's,
Well, the big market place for crypto is luxury goods, travel, and high-ticket items.
yeah.
But more and more smaller businesses are accepting crypto now for smaller transactions. So maybe online gaming portals or web hosting companies, they do microtransactions in the dollars.
Yeah.
And then, smaller to medium-sized businesses average in the, hundreds.
Right.
And then we have larger companies that they'll do 150K transactions.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us in our conversation with Victor Martinsons from GoCoin. And if you want to find out more about GoCoin or learn more about internet marketing, click on the links below, and we'll talk to you soon.
I think an idea.
Think Tank is sponsored by I Think an Idea, a premier digital marketing agency located in Santa Monica, California. I Think an Idea works with Silicon Beach companies, Fortune 500 and 1,000 businesses, and small businesses that want to grow their company both online and off. For more information, go to ithinkanidea.com.